So I don't know. It's a little tricky. Anyway, let's go live. Let's see now. Okay, so there it is. So yeah, you guys, the reason I talked at the beginning is because I gotta hit two go live buttons there. So I don't know, it's a little tricky. But anyway, hello everybody. So we're in December. All right. So I don't know. To me, it's like, man, as soon as you hit, I don't know, it's like November. Like it's time to prepare. Some people start in December. Okay, so I don't know about that. Yeah, I've met people that like they're in October, they're like, hey, let's go. All right. So everyone has a different approach. But I hope you watching this, I hope you're at a good pace. That's all I can hope for. Okay, so today I do want to review contracts. I want to review the most commonly tested issues. I want to pinpoint that area. When I was preparing for the exam, I started noticing because I went back to like 2001. I'm like, let me start here. Let me start here. Let me work my way down. So I either wrote a full essay under time conditions, or I outlined it. And sometimes I just read it, but I went through all of them. And I just started noticing, I think a lot of you guys already caught on to this, but they ask you the same questions over and over again. You see that in contracts a lot. Where they deviate a lot is civil procedure between California and the federal rules. But okay, we'll get to that later. But I am going to have a series here where I just on all the subjects, I'm going to touch on them and I'm going to say, hey, look, this is the most commonly tested. This area here is difficult. Okay, so today we're going to talk about contracts. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. I should have done this earlier, but I started talking. All right. So of course, I do want to say that my Patreon site is up. Dude, it's less than $20, and you get the cheat sheets and you get all the content that I have. All right. So, oh, by the way, the name of the site is Patreon. There's a /C, another / counter underscore argument. Okay, so I think I have a link there. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and focus on this. So there's generally two types of formats here for the essays contracts essay questions. One of them is focused on the first three items. So let me first talk about these main headings. So contracts, when I was in law school, when I was in law school, one day I woke up and I'm like somewhere like in the middle of the course, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like it just, it was just all over the place. I didn't understand. But the reason I didn't understand is because the way it was taught, it was scattered. Contracts, you guys, is the most organized subject that is taught in the most disorganized fashion. Let me say that again. Contracts is the most organized subject that is taught in the most disorganized fashion. So it does have a structure. It has a wonderful structure. It has usually 8 headings, which are here. You go through them one by one, you're gonna do great. Okay, so I'm gonna show you where they test you, but the way they teach you in law school, or even like some of these lectures here, they start somewhere in the middle, and you're like, what the hell is going on? All right, so man, I'm just saying the way they teach the contracts. Okay, so you have usually two types of formats here. They usually test you between the first heading and the third heading. So there expect questions. Okay, mirror image rule. Do we have an offer? Do we have acceptance? Do we have a rejection? I'm talking about the common law there, and of course we'll talk about the UCC as well. And then you also have defenses to formation, and there they talk. It's heavily based on the statute of frauds. So we're gonna go through that in a bit. Then the other setup there is they just test you 1 through 8. Okay, is there yeah, all the way down and all that. Yeah, you got to walk all the way down and talk about conditions and okay, sometimes the the perfect tender rule. Well, we'll talk about these as we go along. Okay, one at a time, you guys. That's how you gotta take contracts. Just take it as it comes. Take your time, discuss it. All right, so be cool, calm, collected, like the fonts. All right, so yeah, so offer. I mean, we all know what offer is. Usually the same, right? The same elements are there. Discuss those. So though that you might have an offer, and then remember that question from February 2024? It was going back and forth, and people just answered it in so many different ways. Some people said, "Hey, it's common law." The people said it's UCC, but just be organized. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. Look, or stay organized. You have these 8 headings, and they're wonderful. You use them. They're like anchors. Okay, so yeah, but just understand that offer, and you might have questions like that. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go on to acceptance. So know the mirror image rule. It's under the common law. Okay. So let's see now. I do want to talk about consideration, but let's go ahead. Oh, look, acceptance under the UCC 2207. So this is, remember in law school, you guys, I don't know, but they made like a big deal out of this, and the way people were like, what the hell? Like the way it was just explained. Let me show you a quick way to understand 2207. The way you approach 2207 is by, because they have 2207-1 and 2207-2, right? Everybody, we all agree on that. So when we study law, when we draft, I don't know, some of you guys are already drafting motions, working for someone, I don't know. But you state the rule, and then you state the exception, right? I'm talking about bar exam and actual practice. That's the format, right? But here you got to reverse it. You do the exception first, and then you do the rule. That's the way it's written. Let me say that again for 2207. The approach deviates. It's not the rule and the exception. It's first the exception and then the rule. And then once you understand that, easy. So, for example, 2207 materially alters. Okay, well, is there like, are you asking me, does your offer say, hey, look, let's get rid of insurance here? Something like that? I don't know. Something material, a term that's material. And then you look at 2201. Well, does the person say that, hey, I'm gonna accept only if it's conditional, if you agree to that? So you have to look at that language. So it's a little tricky, but just remember this. It's gonna make your life a lot easier. But the way it's written is what you want to do is you want to approach the rule first and then the exception. So for 2207, you want to flip the rules. Discuss 2207-2 first, and then discuss 2207-1. It'll make life a lot easier. Trust me. Okay. So let's keep going. By the way, yeah, that's been tested too. And again, just people, it's just, man, the responses are just everywhere. Because the reason I think they're everywhere is because a lot of people just kind of have a difficulty understanding 2207 and the bar examiners and all that. So they're trolling you. That's what they're doing. All right, let's keep going. Okay, let's see now. Okay, quasi contract. That's not really tested, but I did mention it here to prevent unjust enrichment because it's one of those issues that kind of people know, but where do you put it? So of course, where there's no formal written contract, and then of course you go to a quasi contract. Okay, great. Consideration, you guys, is heavily tested. And let me give you an example. Let's see, it's kind of subtle. So keep this in mind. The issues here are subtle. I remember once they had like a question about some travel agency, and they said, hey, look, if you subscribe to this phone company, you put your name there, we'll enter you into some kind of contest, and you're gonna win this. So where's the consideration there? So see how subtle it is. And then of course there's July 2011. There's that doctor, and she has a patient. The patient's like, I'll give you the building, and she's like, oh, haha, very cute. And then she finds out later that he really does own the building. Right. So consideration, you got to know consideration. Even though you guys know it, my point is, be aware. Okay, be on the lookout for consideration issues because they're very subtle. All right. So let's keep going. Oh, yeah. And then promissory estoppel. That's an exception to consideration. Promissory estoppel is also an exception to the statute of frauds. And we'll talk about the statute of frauds in a bit. But yeah, no promissory estoppel. So you have consideration, and then you have promissory estoppel. All right, let's keep going. Let's see now. I'm gonna just okay. So the offenses to formation, you have contract formation, offer acceptance, consideration. Then you go on to defenses, and underneath that, you have the statute of frauds. So there's a mnemonic here. But yeah, the statute of frauds is heavily tested. So you do have to know the exceptions to the statute of frauds. Okay, so, and again, one of the exceptions is promissory estoppel. Okay, statute of frauds exception, there it is, promissory estoppel. Let's see now. So pause to recap. I'm gonna skip that because you guys are getting it. Yes. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so now we go into parole evidence, exceptions to parole. Okay, conditions. All right, this one is all right, you guys. Conditions also going back to law school. It's the way they explain it is difficult. I'm gonna give you a black letter law here, a black letter law rule that's gonna make your life a lot easier. It's gonna make it a lot easier. So if you see words like must on condition that shall, that signifies usually that there is a condition that is present. So that is very important. You have to know if you're able to understand condition precedent and you're able to apply these rules here when you look at the essay exam, and this has appeared on an exam, it has appeared. And I'll just go back to that movie. What was that movie called? The Paper Chase, yeah, something like that. In that film, they asked one of the students, "What's the difference between a promise and a condition?" And the guy just kind of froze because it is a concept that is difficult to understand. But if you understand that these words here signify a condition, and even in actual practice, you guys, okay, that's going to help you a lot. It's going to just kind of clear the water. I mean, just you guys understand what I mean. It's going to clear the path. You're going to say, "Hey, look, this is, I'm getting this. I'm getting this." All right, so let's keep going. Well, there it is, promise. Hopefully, you guys understand the difference between a promise and a condition. All right, if you have a promise, it's a minor breach. It doesn't mean that the whole contract is destroyed. I just want to say that. But if one of the conditions is breached, then that could end the entire contract. That could lead to a material breach. Okay, perfect tender rule. We had that right again. February 2023. We had that. I don't know if I said, yeah, February when they had the UCC question there. What do you want to know here is just that, hey, the buyer, got to give the buyer some time, the buyer time to cure. And also inspect. They have the inspection is part of this process here. So that's part of the perfect tender rule. Just know those concepts. Okay, assignments. And I think that's it, you guys, as far as like the big items. If you guys have any questions about contracts in any way, just send me a message, shoot me a message, and I'll be more than happy to answer any question you may have. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I just want to say this too as well. Hopefully everyone is writing. Hopefully everyone is writing a lot because yeah, writing, like I said before, writing is difficult. People don't want to write. It's kind of, it just, when you write your essays, you're applying a different part of your brain. Right. So if you write, you put yourself in that mode, it's exhausting. Nobody wants to go through that. I mean, you much rather just read a book or watch a lecture, listen to something, but it's not the learning actually takes place when you're applying. And that's what you're doing when you're writing. So I'm here to say, start writing. And I said this before, that there is a strong correlation between the bar passage rate, those who pass, and the amount of essays. There's a high number of they write. There's a high correlation. There's a high correlation between people who don't pass and the number of essays that they write. It's a low number. crazy, huh? It's crazy. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and end this video. So, I got to end it in two. I got to end it in Zoom and then on Facebook. And then I don't have to end it on YouTube because that's usually a recording. Okay, thank you so much.